Morning, everyone. It's Flemish here from Data Technology. Delighted to welcome you all to another installment of our Knowledge webinar series. Today is another session that I'm really excited about. So it's all about Qlik Alerting. Qlik Alerting is a really cool addition to the Qlik portfolio, and it's just another brilliant acquisition that further enhances Qlik's position as a truly end-to-end platform that covers all use cases and requirements. Now, I think the vast majority of the people on the call today are Qlik Sense users or Qlik users of some purpose. And no doubt you all know the benefits and virtues of being able to navigate your way through a dashboard, look at charts, visualizations and objects and derive insight that way. And that's incredible. That has great value. But I know certainly from my side, we almost have this vision of you all spending every waking moment and minute of every day in your Qlik apps. But in reality, you're all very busy people, your time is very precious, and perhaps for some of you, you don't always have the time to actually spend as much time analyzing data in Qlik as you'd like. And what would really be helpful is if you could be notified of a specific event that would then tell you you need to take a look at something. And that's what Qlik Alerting gives you. It reduces the time that you need to spend constantly monitoring dashboards, and you can just get alerted when there is a compelling event in your data which requires you to take a look. But that's a bit of an oversimplification of what Qlik Alerting is all about. And to take us on a more detailed journey, I'm delighted to be joined by Scott Wilkinson from Qlik. For those of you who don't know Scott, he's the Partner Enablement Manager at Qlik, works with partners and data technology very closely in helping us to really grow our Qlik skills and to help us develop our customer value proposition. So he's an incredibly busy man, and I'm really grateful that he's taken the time today to join us and run this session.
Thank you, Flemish. Hello, everybody. So as Flemish said, my name is Scott Wilkinson, so I look after partner enablement in Qlik for the UK and Ireland. Just a little bit of background. So I've been with Qlik now for just a little over 8.5 years, and I've been in the partner enablement role for just a shade over 6 years now. Horrible legal disclaimer slide. I realized in the presentation I do make a reference to a couple of future pieces of functionality. What I just want to highlight from this is that what I'm going to present today is the current thinking, the current view, and the current intentions of Qlik. However, things change, so please don't make any buying commitments on anything that I refer to as future functionality. I will call those out as I go, but most everything I'm going to say is on the product as it is, as it's available, and is generally there today. So a little bit of announcement. So Flemish said in the introduction that Qlik acquired RocksAI. Qlik had been working with RocksAI as one of our technology partners, and we'd done a lot of work with them. And what we really loved was what they'd done with their software, which was their ping intelligent alerting software. And it gave us a new dimension and a new capability to the product, and really helped us address some new use cases. So the acquisition to this was announced at the start of this year at our sales kickoff in January in 2020. And what we did was we've taken the product from there, and what we've done is we've included the product now into our platform. Now, imaginatively, we've taken it from being ping alerting and rebranded it to be Qlik Alerting. And some of the capability, what I want to do is just quickly mention and position some of the capabilities this gives us, and then kind of go on to the so what aspect of that. So in terms of what Qlik Alerting brings to the overall Qlik portfolio, is it gives us the ability to start doing data-driven alerts, and these can be based on several of the things that are inside of your standard dashboard applications that give you the capability to leverage those to identify the anomalies that exist in your data, or certain combinations of conditions that exist in your data. And these can be looked across as a different range of dimensional values as well. So we've got the ability to just not look at a measure in isolation. We can look at across it as a series of dimensions or categories, or however we really want to cut that as well. And then what it also does as well in terms of capabilities that it gives us the ability to set these alerts or these insights both from a central basis and also from a self-service, i.e. from a user perspective as well. So it gives us a great deal of flexibility of that. And the kind of big piece of that is that, okay, so what? That's some more technological capabilities that you've given me, but what does that mean for me as a user of Qlik technology on there? Well, what it starts to do, and the pieces in bold I think are really important as the so what, because these are the things that change how you can look at using Qlik in your business processes, which is the important thing that we always try to strive for and focus for. It allows us to start to manage by exception, And I think that's really linked to the second point in bold there, which is decreasing dashboard fatigue. Because by using Qlik Alerting, you can look for those combination of various conditions that exist within the data that's coming from your business without the need to continually be sat on a dashboard. So it reduces that dashboard fatigue. There's nothing more irksome than having to go into a dashboard. If you're in a meeting for an hour or two, you can't look at the dashboard. What you might want to be is notified that there is an issue on some developing condition. And actually what it does as well is it also allows us in that alert to actually drive you back into an application right at the point, right at the context of where you need to be in the application. So you can be alerted of this as an exception condition, and then you can be taken directly to where you can start to assess the actual validity and impact of that alert that's actually been raised as well. Just in terms of positioning where Qlik Alerting fits in the whole kind of, if you will, portfolio that Qlik have now, we have been very active on the acquisition front. So the enterprise data integration, which is the acquisition of Attunity, the ability to then catalog the data, which is the acquisition of Podium, both acquisitions we've made in the last 2 years. The purple segment in the middle, the augmented analytics, the understand it, is classically what you'll know of Qlik, from Qlik View, from Qlik Sense, those products that allow you to interact with and move around within your data to find out the important aspects within that data. But where Qlik Alerting sits is really in this space about making it embedded into processes and actually make the analytics actionable. And in terms of some of the pieces that I've already called out, intelligent proactive alerting on outlier or anomaly conditions or combinations of conditions. But really what we're looking to do with this is have you take timely action, and then when you get these conditions occurring, be able to kick off that whole workflow automation process. So that really kind of concludes the positioning element that I've got for Qlik Alerting. Just want to talk a little bit more now in detail about what the solution actually looks like and how the solution actually flows as well before I go into a demo. Now, in terms of the solution itself, Qlik Alerting is fully integrated into Qlik Sense. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, Qlik Alerting is a separate process that stands with Qlik Sense and integrates to Qlik Sense through the APIs. So specifically in this case, through the repository, through the engine API, and through the proxy API. And also what it allows us to do, it fully integrates with the Qlik Sense security. Now this will make more sense when I start talking about data alerts, because there's 2 different types of data alerts that you can actually have. But we integrate in terms of the security of Qlik Sense by leveraging the existing security model as well. So that's quite important in terms of being able to alert users in the specific context of the user themselves. Now, what we also have, so from this, is the ability, and I mentioned this earlier, is the ability to actually create centralized alerts. So, i.e., the administrator has a series of alerts that they want to build, they want to create, and they're dictated by, from a higher level and from a business process level. But also, there's the ability to for the users to self-service as well. So, for the users to create their own alerts on the platform. So they don't have to rely on a centralized function. If they've got a concept, they don't have to necessarily wait for that central administrator to create that condition for them to do a requirements gathering. It allows them to use the application content that they've got and set alerts that can be very specific to themselves as well. And they can do that in combinations of conditions. And where I'd see a lot of the alerts being created are around what we call data alerts. This is both self-service and centralized. But what are data alerts? And there's 2 different types of data alerts. The second one I'll come on to, broadcast alerts, I'll come on to in a second. But the alerts themselves are really a set of conditions that you build, and they can be quite complex in nature. You can do combinations of them, standard Boolean type combinations. And also when you create a data alert, so this is driven by the data within an application, you can actually specify where to go back to in that application. You'll see that when I start to I'll go through the process of creating an alert from both a user point of view and also from an administrator point of view as well. But I mentioned 2 types of alerts. The first one is a broadcast alert, which can be centrally created, and that can be run and distributed to a series of users. The other type is what we call a shared managed alert. Now what you can actually do is you can set this up centrally as an alert, but you can have it run with the profile of each user. So if you had different users that you were looking at sales and commit levels, for example, you can take into account that Bob can only see the northern sales sector, or Sarah can only see the southwest sector, and we can actually run the alert in the context of that user as well. So it's one alert that's defined with the conditions on there, but it can be run in context of that user as well. It's really quite powerful. Second type of alert, after you kind of get past the data alerts part of this, is probably the more pragmatic and operational type of alerts. So it can actually set system level of alerts, and these are based around tasks that occur within Qlik Sense. So these can be things like reload. So you can notify when a reload failed. You can notify an administrator or a particular administrator group if you wanted to. You could also do this for power users as well. It might be that a power user wants to know when a reload has completed as well. So they may want to be notified on that so they can jump on and do, time-sensitive work like month-end closing of the books or those kind of things. They want to know as soon as that reload task is completed. So you can actually notify people of those system-type tasks. Broadcast alerts, they're called out specifically. So remember, these are data type alerts, but what we can do is broadcast alerts we can send to a group of users. But the interesting aspect of this is that they don't have to be licensed Qlik users to receive these alerts. Now, the broadcast alerts you can only send through email, but again, just to repeat and slightly labor that point is that you can set this up to send to particular users that don't actually have a Qlik Sense license. So they can be users outside of the kind of main core of Qlik users. You may just want to notify them that a certain condition has happened on there. There is another type which is confusingly called broadcast notifications, but just to separate those from broadcast alert, broadcast notifications are the more kind of system admin type activity that you might have. So if, for example, you're going to take the system down for 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon for maintenance, you can set up those alerts. They're the simplest types, and they'll well start in the portal when we get to the portal on different types of alerts that we can actually have as well. Now, the destination target for alerts can be twofold. You can have one which is focused out towards effectively email, so you can deliver those the alerts in an email format, and you can put content in those, and we'll show you how you can do that. And you can put various links and everything else into there as well. The second option is there is actually a mobile application which is on both the Google Play Store and also on the Apple Store as well. So we've got both iOS and Android versions of this application. So people can receive alerts directly to their mobiles instead of just receiving them from email. So again, it goes to that kind of management by exception, that you might just want a notification that just pops up on your phone saying that there's an issue. So you don't have to, not only do you not have to be on the dashboard, you also do not have to be constantly monitoring your inbox as well. Now, what I will say, and this was one point where I wanted to call out the future part, is currently that is separate from the Qlik Sense mobile application. And so there's two distinct applications, one for Qlik Sense, one for the Qlik Alerting. The intention is over a period of time is to actually have those applications become one application as we go forward as well. So that's just a future looking statement on there. It's at the moment it's two separate apps. And finally, in terms of licensing this, it's a minor point, but it's actually licensed through the Qlik Sense license that you actually have on there as well. So it's not a separate license key that you need to manage. It's all in one entitlement. So just to position a little bit before I go into the demo, what actually happened. So in terms of the flow of this, is that really central to all of this is the Qlik Sense applications that you have. And these can be reloaded on a scheduled basis from a whole variety of different sources, as we all know and hopefully love from Qlik Sense. So you get the opportunity to load it from existing QVW, Qlik View applications, various transactional databases, operational platforms, whole host of things. Could be SAP, could be Salesforce, could be NetSuite, could be a DB2 or an SQL server database, can be flat files, can be a whole host of different things that we can basically import into Qlik Sense, load those into a data model, combine those, and generate an application view. Just where I want to position Qlik Alerting is that Qlik Alerting connects to Qlik Sense, and you will define, and there's really two processes for this. So you define the alerts themselves, so you define the conditions that you actually want to trigger on, and the schedule that goes around that is associated with each of those alerts that you want to set up. And then what happens is that Qlik Alerting takes care of scheduling and running those alerts. And what it does do is it asks Qlik Sense a series of questions about particular applications or particular tasks and monitors when reloads are completed and various tasks like that. And then what Qlik Alerting does is when the conditions are met for triggering alert, it can deliver those out to emails, as I've talked about, or to a mobile client on both iOS and Android platforms. And we can include links that can then bring that user, if they are a licensed Qlik Sense user, back into the platform and back into the application in the context that we actually want to see them on as well. So that's just a little high-level overview of the platform itself. So I'm going to step in and I'm going to do a demo, and I'm going to do this from two different perspectives on here. I'm going to do it from a user perspective and also from an administrator perspective. And then what I'll do is I will trigger an alert and just show you the flow as it actually goes through on this. So I am going to start in an application here. So just to show you it's a live platform there, if I just refresh the sheet, just to give you a little bit of background. So I've got a little virtual machine running on my platform that runs Qlik Sense and Qlik Alerting on a platform. And I'll talk about the architecture just after I've gone through the demo on this, just to give you some hardware requirements and some architectural overview as well. But I wanted to start by just positioning the creation of an alert within an application. So we have an Qlik Alerting ships with an object on there that allows us to create alerts. If I just click on this, you can see I can give this a name. So if I call this data technology alert, and then what I can put in is descriptions created during demo. And if I just flow through this, so this is a user. So this is a user self-serving to create an alert. And so the user, I'll point out, is I'm logged in as a user called Vagrant, which, while it doesn't sound very nice, is one of the technologies we use just to create our virtual images. But what you can see is here that I can create an alert, and it actually gives me the opportunity to filter by object. If I don't, I've got a series of measures and I've got a series of dimensions. That's quite a simple application, but I can create it by that, or if I want to, I can filter by object and say, well, actually, let's look at one where we'll go on percentage to target by salesperson. So that then, by filtering on the object, it narrows down the things that are available to me. So if I said I want to say percentage to target, I want to do it by sales rep, I can add a measure. So that's my measure. So I'm doing percentage to target. And then I'll just do next. So I've got percentage to target. I can have various combinations there. So I can have greater than, less than, equal to, include, starts with, various things. So what I'm going to say is I want to see everybody who's less to target. Now there's some other things I can go on here. I can go on particular sets of information. I can go on previous scans. I can go on a measure value. Or in this case, I'm just going to go fairly simple and just do it on a manual value. So if somebody is less than, say, for example, I'm going to say 70% of target, so we'll go for 0.7. Just keeping that fairly simple. I can add a second condition, and as you can see, I can add in various other elements on there as well, but I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm just going to say one condition for this, just say next. I'm almost finished. I can, if I had bookmarks in there, I do actually, there's a couple. So I can say I've got Sales America, Sales EMEA. I could put a bookmark in there, so I can actually filter if you want to. By this, I can filter to a certain set of criteria or conditions if I wanted to on there. Frequency, this is all about the notifications, and this is actually quite important, because if you have an alert that's running every 2 minutes or every 5 minutes, so you've got reloads on those frequencies, then it's going to be quite draining to, if it was on a 5-minute frequency, to get 12 alerts an hour, and it's going to reduce the value of it. So on here, you get the option to actually filter. So every time would mean I get 12 alerts if it fills 12 times in an hour. But I can tell it only notify me the first time each hour, which is quite sensible. One first time each day, again, sensible. And then first time each week or month. So you can make a decision based on that. I'll just leave it at every time. And then channels, as I say, I can either send to email or mobile channels, or I can just send it to email channels. And then I can just create an alert for that. And there you go. So my alert, data technology alert, has been created. I've had an email confirmation of that sent to me as well. So I can review the alert if I want to. So I'll look at the detailed alert for that. I need to log in. I'll tell you what, I'll show you that in the client itself. but I'm happy. I've just created that alert now. So that is really the flow for going through and creating a user-driven alert. Now, what I can do just in terms of the other end of the spectrum is, let me just go to my Qlik Alerting. So this is the portal, and I'm going to look at this now from an administrator point of view. So I'll use a slightly different user for this. So if I just log in as the Qlik user. Now what I can see here, this is the portal. So I get a series of functions available to me. As we mentioned in the positioning, we get broadcast notification, system alerts, and data alerts on here. So at the moment, I'm just looking at my alerts, but as an administrator, I can look at all alerts. And there you can see there is my data technology alert. You can see the created date. And if I wanted to view that, I can just go through and edit that. And you can see it's populated with the information I put in there. I have to filter on sales dimension. And there's my condition of less than 70%. Okay. But what I want to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to use, go through and I'll just look at the notifications and I'll do them in kind of reverse order on this, because it gives you a little bit of a kind of the build up in complexity. So it just helps to do this. So if I look at a broadcast alert, so this is just an alert which I might want to send out if there was system going down on a Saturday afternoon for scheduled maintenance. The notification here, I can send a notification subject. The body I can actually build as HTML, so I can import HTML in here. So it can be nice, it can be structured, it can be formatted. I've got the idea of a distribution here. So this is, again, similar kind of interface, email or mobile. I can add both. I can edit the recipients list for this. So this is the users that I've got available to me. So I mentioned I was using the Vagrant user in the client. I'm logged in as the Qlik user here. So this alert would actually go to both users. So I'll just cancel out of that. And again, I can preview the list. Now scheduling for the broadcast alert, so this is just in system down. I can trigger now, or I can put on a particular schedule. And the schedule, again, is quite consistent across all the alarms. So I can schedule it for a day of the week. It can have a validity time as well. So I can say, start this at a particular date, end this at a particular date. And it will only run this alert based on the other kind of scheduling conditions during that window as well. So I've got the ability to do that. And I've got a couple of different ways of doing the schedule as well. I can schedule it to run on an interval. So here, start between these two times and run it every hour. So it would be generated from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night because it's running an hourly schedule. Or I can schedule it to run a particular scan time. So I could have it to run at 9 o'clock on Saturday in between these particular periods here. The blank scan until just means it's infinity, just run it forever. But that gives you a little bit of a structure of the broadcast alert, and I really must learn to press confirm when I do the cancel on there. System alerts, so I've got one here which is a reload manual trigger, which I'm going to use in a second. So if I just edit that, and I will show you this. So this is, I'm running this on a success condition here. I can run it on failed, I can run it on abort, I can run it on any combination of those things. What it does do, if I just unselect that a second, is ticking the taskbar at the top will select all of the tasks that are there. So at the moment, I've got 5 tasks listed there. The slight gotcha at the moment is, and we've raised this with product management, is that if we tick the all bar and then somebody adds subsequent tasks, it won't be added, the monitoring of those tasks won't be added to this list. You'd have to go back out, come back in. So say, for example, we just added the reload of the sales quota. If I wanted to add all of those in, I just tick the box and it would add those. But what I'm saying is it's that point in time. It will take all of the tasks at that point in time. And then distribution, so email, frequency, as you say, this is just to stop the kind of an absolute spamming of lots of alerts, but I'm just going to leave it as every time. And under advanced, I can select the recipients of that as well. Now, this doesn't have, you'll notice, this doesn't have a schedule because this is based on when reloads actually occur. So the system alerts are all based around the reloads there. I'm just going to press the right button this time. And data alerts, so you've seen me create that in the client. I'm just going to use the Scott first alert here. I'm just going to edit that. I'll walk you through a little bit about this. So let me just kind of break this quite horribly. I'm going to get rid of those two for a second. Now what I can do is here I select I go through all of these, the data, the conditions and everything. I can select the applications that are available to me as that user. So I want the sales quota inline data. The sheet here, now when you get to it, I'll add measures and I'll add percentage to target and percentage to commit. But I can choose when the user receives an alert. If I put a link back to the application in here, I can choose which sheet they actually land on. So I can even get to the point of using a private sheet if it's one that's just private to me. I'm going to choose sales performance, which is one of the published sheets. Now I can add a custom measure, so I can actually put an expression in here if I want to. I'm going to keep it quite simple. I'm going to add a couple of measures. I'm going to say I want to look at percentage to commit, and actually I know that's a percentage, so I'm formatting that as a percentage. I'm going to add that measure, and then you can see down here I start to get a list of various people, and I'll show you how we can filter that. And the other one was percentage to target, and again that's a percentage, so I'm going to go to one place a decimal. It's personal preference, but you can see that there, and I can preview the first 10 rows of data that's available. I can drill on different dimensions as well, so I can look at region. You can see I get the region variant there, but actually I want this by sales rep. You can also apply bookmarks, so it's very similar to what you saw in the user interface, or I can filter by a field value. So if I want to filter by a sales rep, then I can do that. I can look at how I want to. So actually, let's look at region. Let's pick Asia Pac, and what you should see is when I add that filter, you'll see this list change. So the list changed. So Eugene was at the top of the list. Clear that list, then you see Eugene comes back into there. Now the conditions, it's worth pointing out you can have different types of conditions here, and then the conditions themselves are pretty standalone. Okay, so I've got percentage to commit less than 0.75 in this case on the value, and I've got this one here, condition B. Now the conditions are only applied when you do rules. So you can see that Suki is the top rep there. So if I say Suki, sorry, I'll have condition here which is less than 75% to commit, and I can put in there that I want this as not B. So if I just validate that condition, what you'll see is Suki disappears. If I say it's got to be condition A and B, and then validate the conditions, you can see because it's applying both of these conditions, I only get Suki on there. But I want to keep this as rule A. I'm going to speed up. You've seen the schedule, so I can do it on reload or on schedule. The schedule is exactly the same as you saw earlier. I'll keep it on reload. Distribution. This is where we've got the two different types of data alerts. So broadcast alert will just go to everybody in the recipient list, and it'll be run in the context of me as the user that creates this. If I do it as a managed shared alert, then for each of the recipients, it will run those conditions against the data that they can see. So if you're using something like section access, you'll see that actually would be applied as well. Then notification, again, I can upload a file. There is information on all the fields that you can add into the platform here. So you can add in all sorts of information about which fields have triggered this, links back into the application. There's a whole host of system fields that you can embed into the HTML here. I've just kept this simple. I'm just going to add some more commentary and just save that. So that's being updated now. Now, let's go and actually trigger an alert, shall we? So if I just go back to my application here, so you can see that this is my inbox for both the Qlik user and the Vagrant user on there as well. So I get notified on various things. I did actually trigger some alerts this morning just to check this was all working. But what I want to do is I'm just going to go to the management console. I've got a task here which is the manually triggered reload. So you can see those are the 5 tasks that I saw. So if I just start that and then just refresh this, you should hopefully see it's successfully executed there. So that'll take a second or two, but if I go back to here and I ask this to go and get some messages, it might take a second or two for it to roll through. But you hopefully should see some new messages coming through shortly on here. Let's go to the inbox. In fact, as the user Vagrant, just while we're waiting for the alerts to trigger, you can see this is the, and it did tell me it would be emailed, but you can see that is the effectively what I've created. So I created that application, so you can see that there. I'll just run get messages again. If I get messages for Qlik, we'll come back to this in a second. It'll just take a second for that to flow through. we'll leave that a second. Let me just talk, I'll come back to that in a second. It is a virtual machine, so it does wait a second for processing through. So let me just recap on what you've seen. So you've seen me create alerts through the Qlik Alerting extension inside of the client, so I can self-serve. As an administrator, I can use the Qlik Alerting web application or the web portal, and I can do slightly more things with that in terms of creating both broadcast notifications, system alerts, and I can actually edit and monitor the various alerts that are there. The Qlik Alerting piece runs as an adjunct. It connects to Qlik Sense using the proxy engine and repository services. And then when it comes back to delivery channels, it pushes out through either email, as you've seen, or using Firebase, it can push out to the mobile application as well. So it can actually send that information out. Installation prerequisites. So we recommend that Qlik Alerting, while it can be installed on the same Qlik Sense server as you've seen there, we don't recommend it because it's going to consume resources, and that might interfere with the production the production experience of the users on Qlik Sense. So we recommend putting it on a separate server. As you've seen with my VM, we've got the two together on there. Hardware requirements are actually not as huge as you might think. So in terms of running this, or Windows platform, multi-core processors, fairly standard stuff. Disk space just requires 32 gig minimum. And memory, it requires 8 gig minimum. Now, I was asked on a sizing exercise for this a couple of weeks ago about how big we should go with this. Some of the feedback that we had from the team was that really, if you go much above 16 gigabytes, it's not massively memory intensive. It does use the APIs extensively on Qlik Sense, so it does cause a load on the Qlik Sense platform in terms of running queries the same way a kind of user would do on there. But from the point of view of just running the applications, 8 gig, I would generally say 16 gig maximum, really. And software prerequisites, Windows, there is some software that this utilizes, so the application server uses Node.js, MongoDB and Redis. At the moment, you need to install those separately. And from the mobile devices, I am a fervent Android user, so I know version 4 is actually quite old. So we do actually, it's version 4.4 and above. So you can, it's basically got a good longevity in terms of backwards compatibility. And I'm reliably informed that I think Apple are on release 13.4, 13.5 at the moment, expecting release 14. So iOS 10.3 is quite a retro version of that. Let me just go back and just check and just force it to get the alarms. There we go. So 11:34 a.m. I just needed a little bit more patience to wait for that. You can see there's my manually triggered reload has successfully completed. And you can see my newly created alarm, and there you go. That is the commentary that we actually added in there. Now, as I say, you can put other links in there, and if I just show you the example of this, there's an alert. There you go. So the reload caused this. That's what a full-blown alert looks like. And then what it allows you to do is if you want to go back to the application. So this is a little bit more formatted on there, and that's the alert that we actually created, as you can see as well.
Thanks, Scott. That was that was amazing. And without further ado, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you very much, Scott.
Yeah, and I'd just like to extend my thanks, Flemish and Izzy, for having me on, and thank you everybody else for the time.